Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Uh, Today is going to be kind of a little bit of a ramble. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to nerd out a little bit on command line interfaces and terminal-based applications. So there's this feeling in the world, I guess, that if you want to get into Linux, you have to know the terminal. And for the most part, that's pretty untrue. I mean, if you install Linux, you can live your entire life in a GUI and never even see the terminal. Almost every Linux distribution out there has a software store or whatever that you can install programs from, and you can do all your updates from that place, and or whatever. So why would you ever use CLI? So once you've moved past the noobness of your Linux experience, your Linux career, uh, it's a rite of passage to start learning things in the terminal. And the title of this video is going to be CLI is Better, but really that's kind of untrue. I mean, CLI is just different. It's in many ways CLI is, so let's first off, CLI stands for command line interface, just like GUI stands for graphical user interface, for those of you who don't know. The question you get asked is, why would you use a CLI when there's a graphical difference? I'm sorry about that loud ass car out there. It's like every car in this neighborhood took off their catalytic converter and made their car as loud as possible. It's like we're back in the 1980s again. And side rant. Anyways, where was I? So why would you use a CLI? So the way I look at it is that a lot of times command line interfaces are just different. They're not necessarily better. So a good example of this is NC Spot. This is a Spotify client, and there are many reasons why it's just exactly the same as the regular client, only it's in the terminal. You can do most everything you can do in the command line or in the the GUI app as you can in this here terminal app. Now there's some things that you can't do, like you can't do radio stations and things like that. So it does have its limitations. So really, you could use one or the other and you'll be fine. But my benefit for this is that this is not an Electron app like the Spotify client is. So it doesn't take up gigantic amounts of memory or system resources. So that's point one on why CLI is could be considered better, is it takes less system resources to run things because it's not using stupid things like Electron. Another reason why they could be considered the same or different is that how you use them. For the most part, when you use a graphical interface, so let's say let's say you're doing your email client. This is Evolution. I don't have anything here that's open. And this is what you notice here is that I'm using my mouse. Now I'm assuming that there's like maybe keyboard bindings that you could actually switch between these things. I'm not sure. Just because I never do it, because when you're using a GUI application, you use your mouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you're used to using a tiling window manager, chances are you're used to using your keyboard. So that's one of the reasons why CLI could be better, because it's more keyboard based, and that's good for you if you're using if you navigate around your desktop environment or your window manager with your keyboard. Now, I always slam the door when they come in, every single time. It's like you're living with barn animals. Anyway, this is why you choose to do videos later at night when everything's calmed down and things aren't busy during the day. Anyways, so what are some of the other examples of how CLI could be better, or in the case maybe more efficient? This is Ranger. Now, there are a lot of the same points that I just made, is that it's very keyboard centric, and you can use your mouse. I mean, I don't know why you'd ever want to. Um, so like I have a favorites I can save between two different files. This goes to my external hard drive, and then I can go to this is where I keep all my videos. And it's all based on keyboard bindings. It's also, again, takes up less resources, but it also has its limitations, like you can't drag and drop from it. Now, if you let's see here if I can, yeah. Now, I wonder why preview. That's interesting. I usually have previews enabled, and I'm not sure exactly why they're not working. Let's go find out if they work on the main drive. No. Interesting. So that's broken. So I guess this is a good example of things going wrong in the command line. Things do happen. That's one. So I consider CLI to be more efficient, but sometimes things break. Whereas a lot of times, if you're using a GUI, you're less likely to run into problems. So I guess that's the reason. That's the main reason I main point I want to make is that command line interfaces are more. They provide you with the opportunity to learn more about how Linux works, how your computer works, how coding works in programming languages. So, like this one here is my i3 config, and if you're using a window manager, chances are you're always going to be doing most of your editing of your config files in like Vim or Nano, or this is NVim. So you learn how to do syntax and things like that. And you could, if you look at like this is this is my NVim config. So you learn how to source things and do different things in Vim. And if you're learning Python or HTML and stuff like that, you could use an IDE like VS Code or whatever. But it's just not. It just doesn't seem efficient. Now, there are some things where this breaks down because, like in NeoVim, I have to have all these things in order to make my coding experience, livable. So you have to go through and make a whole bunch of plugins in order to get things to work. And whereas in VS Code, chances are you can just use that right out of the box. So the reason why I use command line interface is mostly nerd cred. And that's going to sound really weird, but I like learning new things. And when you just take the easy route of using a GUI, you don't learn new things, really. You learn how to use the GUI, and then that's it. You don't learn how the program works. You don't learn how to tweak it and all that kind of stuff for the most part, because it's all just set out for you, and you do things the way the developer decided to do things. Whereas almost every command line interface, you can actually get into the code and tweak things. Like you can make Vim look different and do different key bindings and different plugins and things like that. Stuff that you can't do with a lot of other GUI things without having to jump through hoops or living within the ecosystem of that particular program. I also like. There's also a whole different world of. It just feels kind of cool to go through and be able to do all of your work for the most part in a terminal. Like it's all like you're basically doing this all within one application. I mean, it's different applications within an application, but application inception. But it's cool. So I mean, like this one here this is WPM. This is a a typing tutor. Because so then there's different. Does this have any tangible benefit to using a website like Mavis Beacon or whatever? Not really. There are some privacy implications because all this stuff is stored on my computer. I don't have to sign up for an account or anything. But outside of that, not really. I can add my own quotes, but you can a lot of those things you can add your own quotes to type to as well. So I mean, there's no tangible benefits to this one. But like I said, this is mine. I don't have to. I can go in. This is just a bash script basically, and I can go in and you know, tweak it and see how it works and be nerd out on it. It's really cool. Um, anyways, so this is just a little completely unplanned ramble about why I personally think CLI things are better. Um, but I will end on this. You use what you're most comfortable with, um, or what makes you feel like you're using your computer the most efficiently. So if you've coming from Windows, chances are your GUI applications are going to make you feel more comfortable. And a lot of times, CLI programs and terminal, applications or whatever, uh, they take you out of your comfort zone of what you normally use, every day to day. And for a lot of people, that's not a good thing. You just want to get in front of your computer, you want to do your work, whatever. For people like me, though, CLI programs allow you to learn new things, open your horizons, broaden your experiences with your computer. And to me, that's invaluable because I like learning new things. And the more I understand about, Linux and open source programs and pretty much everything having to do with my computer, at least software wise, the better I feel about my experience. So, anyways, that's it. Next time, if you enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Give it a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.